Hey everyone, welcome back to AI with Pallavi. Ready to learn another AWS service in just 10 minutes? Let's get started. Let's learn AWS Transit Gateway. Now, what is Transit Gateway? Picture this 10 VPCs, 3 AWS accounts, 2 on prem offices. You have wired everything together with VPC pairing. Now, count the connections, right? It's too much. And you need to add one more VPC. Now, Transit Gateway exists, so you never have to do the math again and worry about how many VPCs you have to connect. Transit Gateway is actually a cloud router that sits at the center of your AWS network. It helps you to connect VPCs across different AWS accounts, on premise networks through a single hub only. Instead of creating a direct pairing connection between every pair of VPCs, each VPC connects to the Transit Gateway. Let's look at this. With VPC pairing mesh and Transit Gateway, the major difference is simplification. On the left hand side, you can see there are multiple VPCs, and when we start connecting each of them to each other, when they have to talk to the resources present, it is going to be a mesh, right? And it's actually very difficult to manage when you have a lot of VPCs talking to each other. But when you have Transit Gateway, the whole picture is very much simplified. You just have to create attachment from each VPC to a transit gateway. The traffic can easily flow from VPC A to VPC D or VPC E to VPC B in any case. So attachments for 10 VPC is easily done. Only 6 attachments has to be added, and it's fully transitive. On the other hand, for VPC pairing mesh, you know that 45 connections needed for 10 VPCs, and it's not transitive. Like if A is connected to B, is connected to C, it doesn't mean that A is connected to C. So the formula, right? If you have number of VPC pairing needs and based on that the number of connections increases, go ahead and start using transit gateway. Now think of transit gateway as a central railway station. Every city doesn't need a direct train line to every other city, right? They all connect to the hub, and the hub handles routing to the destination. One attachment per network, infinite connectivity combination. So that's how it's simplified. And let's look at some real world use cases where we actually need transit gateway. When you have multi-account, multi-VPC enterprise networking, right? And you are running a landing zone with separate VPCs for prod, dev, security, shared services, and more. Even for logging, you might need separate account, right? So VPC pairing, every pair needs its own connection. But with Transit Gateway, you just have to set it up once and it can be used across. Second use case, consolidating the hybrid connectivity across multiple VPCs. You have direct connect from your data center to AWS. Without Transit Gateway, you need a separate virtual private gateway per VPC to terminate that direct connect connection. But with Transit Gateway, you attach direct connect with a transit virtual interface to a single TGW, and every VPC attached to that TGW can now reach your on-premise network. One connection, all VPCs reachable. Third, shared AI services, VPC accessible from all workload VPCs. Now, let's say you want to create the Bedrock invocation layer, right? And you want to keep it at one single place. Attaching all application VPCs to transit gateways and directly to the AI platform VPC, you can just configure the route tables to allow the specific paths, and you have a centralized AI services hub. The alternative is deploying Bedrock endpoints or SageMaker infrastructure into every application VPC separately. So that's how simple it is when you start using Transit Gateway. Now let's switch to the console. So how do you actually create Transit Gateways? And Transit Gateway is already present in the VPC console itself. So you just have to navigate to the VPC console and you can create the Transit Gateway there. So let's go ahead and create a Transit Gateway. Now, as soon as you see and open the Transit Gateway settings, you just have to give a name. You can give any description for the gateway, and there is an ASN number. Now, what is an ASN number, right? It is an Amazon side. ASN is actually the BGP autonomous system number your transit gateway uses when talking to on-premise routers over direct connect or VPN, kind of authenticating or identifying like where the traffic is coming from. So there's a default value, and that is 64512. If you're connecting to on-prem network that's already using this number, you'll get a BGP conflict. Set this to something unique for your organization before you create the TGW, because you cannot change it after creation. Now once done, there are different features. So there is default route table association and propagation checkbox. If you want to do this, automatically it will configure the route tables association, it will configure the VPN setup, security group referencing, DNS support, and all of that. So there are two checkboxes that people actually leave on default without thinking. So default route table association and default route table propagation. If both are on, every VPC you attach automatically shares routing with every other VPC. That's fine for simple setups. For enterprise, where prod and dev should never talk to each other, you might want to keep this off. So you can ensure that you don't on it. Then there is, once you create it, there is also something as transit gateway attachment. So I already have a transit gateway created. Now let's see what is transit gateway attachment. Now when you select this, you have to select the VPC. You have to choose the transit gateway. So let's choose the transit gateway which we already have, and there are different attachment types like VPC, VPN. If it is VPN type of attachments you want to create, then you have to give the VPN details. If it's peering connection, then you have to give that. If it's a direct connect attachment, then you have to do select those options, and even for site-to-site VPN connector. So all of these are just features of how you want to attach different resources to your particular TGW. Now there is a powerful part here like route tables. So route tables are super important in this case. So TGW route table isolation is super critical, and it's one of the powerful part. You can create separate route tables, one for prod VPC, one for dev VPC, one for shared services. So associate prod VPC attachments with a prod route table, add routes pointing to shared services. Prod VPCs can reach shared services but can't reach dev. So that's how the isolation works. And dev VPCs can reach shared services but can't reach pod. So that's how you can define the route tables, and this is a very important layer, a very important setup, so that you do not give access to all the VPCs, all the resources across whichever is connected to TGW. So this is super important, and that's how the traffic is actually routed. So once you do this, you just build network segmentation without a single security loop rule. So just ensure that you set this up, and you even don't need security groups in that case. Other than that, there is something called as transit gateway policy table. So you can create specific policies based on how you want to allow your specific transit gateway, right? So let me give it TGW policy, and let's create a transit gateway policy. So once this is created, you can associate different policies related to that, and then it will help you to identify the associations, the tags, the details, and everything. Then transit gateway route table, as we understood that this is a route table specific for transit gateway. If you want to check the associations, the propagations, you can also set the prefix list preferences, right? Like what type of request should land up there, that can be done. Then there is something also as transit gateway multicast. So if you just want to allow the traffic flow into different subnets, a multicast domain can only be created in transit gateway with multicast support option enabled. So if you don't enable that there, you won't be able to create it here. So that's how the whole transit gateway thing works. And just like that, you have learned another AWS service in 10 minutes. Hit that subscribe button if you like this video, and comment if you have any questions related to this service, or if there is any service you want me to focus next. Happy learning!